Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ हफ्ता. दिस इज द होली वीक, so happy Holi in advance to all of you. But first, let me tell you who will be joining us on today's hafta. Right now on the panel, we have Raman Kirpal in office.
Hi.
Jayashree joining us after a while from Chennai. Welcome, Jayashree.
Hi.
Also joining us on the phone line is Mr. Umakant Lakhera. Hello, sir.
Hi, sir. Hi.
Umakant ji is a very experienced journalist who has been in journalism for a very long time. He is right now, in fact, the Press Club of India's president. So all the press club activity you see happens under his watchful eye and guidance. A huge support to all journalists trying to do journalism across the country. And he's also a writer and a commentator. And you may have read his pieces on various platforms. So thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for your all well-wishers and audience.
Thank you so much. And also joining us later in the episode at about 4:15 will be Karma Paljor, who will be talking about the elections in the 3 states in the Northeast, but that is later in the episode. But for now, let us get into the discussions about what's happening closer to us in Delhi, only after the headlines by Jayashree.
Yeah, so here are the headlines for the week. The CBI on Sunday arrested Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in the excise policy case. He's been sent to 5 days in custody. The CBI has claimed that he was arrested after he gave evasive responses and did not cooperate. Subsequently, Sisodia and his colleague Satyendra Jain resigned from the Delhi cabinet. They're likely to be replaced by Atishi and Saurabh Bharadwaj, whose names are recommended to the Delhi LG by Arvind Kejriwal. And yes, counting is currently underway in Meghalaya, Tripura and Nagaland. It began at 8 a.m. this morning. So we'll hear more about that when our guest is here. The verdict is also out in the Hathras case. 3 out of the 4 accused were acquitted by a court in Hathras district. One accused has been convicted for culpable homicide not amounting to murder. I think the sentencing will happen later today. But crucially, all 4 were acquitted of charges of gang rape.
So we have a reporter on the ground. In fact, we are recording this at 3:30 in the afternoon on the 2nd of March, a Thursday. We have just been informed by Akanksha and our former colleague Nidhi that he has in fact got a life sentence.
Okay.
The one person convicted. But it's for murder and not for rape.
I'm quite shocked that all 4 got off on gang rape, I have to say.
Yeah, they weren't able to prove that. And 3 of them, of course, haven't got anything. But we will have a detailed report on that. Those of you who've been following Newslaundry would remember that we had followed this story most closely. In fact, we have a documentary film that is under production that is being made on this horrific affair. So you will get a detailed report on that either by tonight or by tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, so the News Broadcasting and Digital Standards Authority on Monday passed orders against Times Now and Zee News for their reporting on protests by the PFI. It also passed 5 orders against News 18 India. This time it was for content on shows anchored by Aman Chopra. So yes, if they were cautioned, they were fined, and in some cases they had to remove the videos of the broadcasts. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has signed a 2-year deal with the RSS-backed news agency Hindustan Samachar for its daily feed.
It's a deal where these people have got 7.7 crore. And why it is important? Because Prasar Bharati earlier used to subscribe to PTI. So it doesn't subscribe to PTI anymore.
Do they subscribe to Newslaundry?
No.
There's no way to... That's what we're looking at.
That's the headline you want.
That's the headline I want.
That was expected, that hiring this RSS owned agency, that was expected because I've seen, 3-4 years back, this Hindustan Samachar, they are enrolled out of the way in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha press gallery, apart from the other, other government organizations and PIB and all that. So this is not a surprising for me, at least, because it was an unexpected line. And because they were not happy with the PTI, because on certain point, PTI was not toying with the line of the government, and they are frequently, working some sort of independence. So naturally, this regime doesn't like the functioning of the PTI, because PTI did some critical stories, and that may be the reason. So they have, flouted the roadmap 3-4 years back, and it was expected.
तो ANI की तपस्या काम नहीं आई?
ANI तो is
तपस्या ANI की देखिए, ANI का दूसरा चीज, ANI at least had some little bit professional standard, but Hindustan Samachar, the training of the staff, I know some of the staff, and they are reporters and journalists, and their IQ level, their training as a journalist. I am not happy with those people, their background and all that as a journalist. So naturally, and this thing is, it will happen. It will be very miserable, state of situation when agency, this Prasar Bharati, which is being run on the taxpayers' money, will be dependent on information provided by the Hindustan Samachar.
So basically, सरकारी पैसा, हमारा public taxpayers' money is going to the RSS. Basically, they said that you cannot, if you will not support RSS, we will make sure you support RSS through your money. So it's basically like if some government, so either you can give it through ads, or you can give it through subscribing by Sarkari. So might as well you guys, people should might as well subscribe directly to us. I mean, why wait for our government to be formed and they will take Newslaundry as the official agency?
But this is an indication for the state government also, because they will also ask state governments to follow the suit, And दूसरी बात ये है कि ये जो ऑर्गेनाइजर्स है, ऑर्गेनाइजर का जो करेक्टर असैसिनेशन की खबरें अभी 3-4 स्टोरीज मैंने देखी, इट इज टोटल वन साइडेड एंड करेक्टर असैसिनेशन. So that you can imagine, how Hindustan Samachar will follow the suit of their masters,
Right. So maybe we'll get to hear a little more about this in the conversation that follows. But the next headline being?
Yeah, the Ministry of Home Affairs has suspended the FCRA license of the Center for Policy Research for 180 days. So this is a Delhi-based think tank. But I mean, in my opinion, it's a think tank that does some of its own thinking. So the government will obviously go after it. Yeah.
In fact, it was...
But India Today, I mean, interestingly, their headline yesterday was that they suspended FCRA of a think tank belonging to Congress, leaders' daughter,
yes.
So that twist.
They gave that twist.
Whereas the Congress leader's daughter is an academician and she is very renowned.
And abhi she wasn't earlier. Pratap Bhanu Mehta used to be heading CPR.
Was there, yes.
So I mean, it is India Today has basically abandoned everything. I don't know what is up, but they have just anything.
So
that happens,
that twist was unwarranted. I don't know why they gave this.
But also it's very interesting if you see the IT department's show cause that it sent to CPR. I think it's 33 pages. It includes stuff on how the office peon irregularly filed his IT returns, how they said, why is this sum of money paid? And the sum of money was actually remunerations paid to employees between for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's all very comical.
I mean, sure, they can go to court, but why? Till then,
Anyway, in slightly better news, the Karnataka High Court set aside the ED's 2018 notice that blocked Amnesty International India's bank account.
Yeah, but in the meantime, they couldn't have paid anyone. No? You just completely stop people's workflows.
The Supreme Court, we have a bunch of stories from the Supreme Court. First, it says that a committee comprising the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition in the Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice will advise the President on the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners.
In fact, this is huge.
This is very, very big story of the day. And it was a constitutional bench of 5 judges, and it's a unanimous, verdict, which in favor of a collegium for electing Chief Election Commissioner and other commissioners. Plus, I think it is also has criticized, which we don't know right now, but
we'll see the full judgment.
The full judgment is yet to come out. I think it will be out by evening. But I think they have given a hint that the third commissioner was appointed when this case was on in the Supreme Court.
Which is bad.
So Supreme Court said this was...
In fact, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, the former Chief Election Commissioner of India, and one of the ones who's known for his integrity, had tweeted, "Great day, our long pending demands being met." In another tweet, he said, "At last, Supreme Court has clinched it. The demand has been pending for 2 decades. Good for the perception of neutrality of the Election Commission." So, this is fantastic. Now, the next move we're waiting for, the centre will do.
Right.
Really,
right.
Is it possible
they'll try to do the opposite.
There'll be new amendment to the constitution where they can do what the hell they want.
This V.S. Sampath had also tweeted saying that this would bring about greater transparency and all. So, anyway, also in the Supreme Court, it set up an expert panel to examine investor protection mechanisms in the wake of the Hindenburg report. It's also asked SEBI to finish the probe in 2 months.
And submit a report to the Supreme Court. Finish the probe and submit a report to the Supreme Court.
Submit its report. The Supreme Court has also asked the centre to place on record steps it's taken to prevent manual scavenging in accordance with the law.
We have done 2 stories to, deep dive stories into this manual scavenging in Delhi and Haryana. And we are going to do UP also very soon.
Yeah, please look out for that. In fact, we'll be doing a whole series on this because this is an issue that really needs to be highlighted. It's just not highlighted enough.
Yeah, and the saddest thing is that you assume a ban on manual scavenging means that people can't enter manholes. But it's actually only specifically about dry latrines. So people are sent into manholes to clean, and that technically does not count as manual scavenging work if you're looking at the definition as per the law. So it's all very horrifying. Haryana-based Maiden Pharmaceuticals, which is linked to the deaths of 70 children in the Gambia due to cough syrups, has now been convicted in a 2013 case of exporting substandard medicine to Vietnam. Ahead of the Karnataka election, Prime Minister Modi has heaped praise on former Chief Minister Yeddyurappa. It was Yeddyurappa's 80th birthday. Modi said he's an inspiration to all those in public life.
Interesting to see that Mr. Narendra Modi, who very rarely shows any affection or such praise for any of his chief ministers. I mean, they all walk behind him like they're his peons. This happened about 3 days after Yeddyurappa made a statement saying that this whole Tipu Sultan versus Savarkar politics in Karnataka is wrong. It will not get you anywhere. So he had made it noises that, boss, don't take me for granted. Because without his support, which is apparently the Lingayat community, if I'm not wrong, you cannot form an government there. So
that was basically to control the damage control,
So Mr. Modi had to go and say, boss, please, हमारा कर्नाटका में बांजी मत मारना. I'll come and praise you.
And ये होगा कि वो जिसको कहते हैं ना कि मिसाइल है, वो मिसाइल कहाँ गिरेगी इलेक्शंस में? Nobody can understand. Nobody knows in future course of action of the Yeddyurappa. That is that will be very interesting,
Yeah, to see.
In Punjab, the police on Thursday agreed to release a close aide of Sikh leader Amritpal Singh following clashes with hundreds of his supporters near a police station in Amritsar.
In fact, our executive editor Atul has just interviewed him yesterday, which is Wednesday, the 1st of March. That interview should be up by the time this podcast has been put online, or maybe a day later. Do watch it, share it. It is an important interview, and I must say Atul has done a pretty good job.
Meanwhile, in Delhi, foreign ministers from 40 countries have congregated for a G20 meeting under India's presidency. This includes the foreign ministers from China, Russia, and the US, although their counterparts from Japan and South Korea, I think, are sending deputies. Also, last week, the G20 finance ministers failed to reach a consensus on a closing statement in their meeting in Bangalore.
Right.
Am I the only person who also thinks that G20 to an extent is also like a little bit meaningless faffery? I mean, its composition meets no criteria that justifies the inclusion of, say, like Argentina over Colombia or South Africa rather than like Nigeria. Also, that it has this crippling inability to address issues like debt relief. So
I don't have a thought-through position on this yet. Maybe I'll give it some thought and have some next week.
India on Thursday abstained from voting on a UN resolution that called for the unconditional withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine.
Which is consistent with India's position so far on the Russian-Ukraine conflict.
They're treading very carefully to keep both the countries.
And the last headline is riots and protests have broken out in Greece after a rail crash killed 43 people. This is when a passenger service train crashed head-on into a freight train and the front carriages burst into flames.
Right. So thank you for the headlines. Just putting completely objectively. You have witnessed all sorts of assaults on media. You have been a part of many protests and fightbacks by the journalist community. Is it any different now than you have seen in the last many years? And how is it different, if it is different?
No, it is a quite different. There are a lot of reasons for that. You see, that first thing is, there is a contact system, introduced in whole of the print industries, 15, 20 years back. And it has started 25 years, 30 years back. And this started gradually in, I think, Times Group. And now the other newsprint, Raman, I think he's aware about this. And it was introduced adopted by the all other regional papers. Now, that is that was an attack. This contact journalism was direct attack on the freedom of press. It started from there. Now, in the changed circumstances, when this, you can say, big corporates, they took over, these media houses. Like you can see the example of the NDTV of 3 months, 4 months back. And NDTV, you can see the NDTV of today's, the nature of reporting and how they came down on the government side. They are barring few of their programs. जो देखिए कि किस तरह से वो सरकार को बच निकलने का रास्ता दे रहा है. तो कुछ जगह they are trying to be impartial and all that. So you can easily imagine that what is happening inside of the media. And I think this is a very miserable condition when flow of information will be blocked. And it is state means the government. Government play very important role in all these things because.
Right. Also, speaking of controlling the media, if the government actually wants to control the media, I think they should get in touch with Umakant ji, because as president of the press club, any area where journalists come and drink, they have to be controlled. Otherwise, they'll burn it to the ground. Considering the press club right now is in good condition, that means you know how to control the media.
वो तो देखिए, जो जिसको कहते हैं ना हिंदी में खान पान, देखो खान पान पर कंट्रोल नहीं होना चाहिए.
Many are already calling it a scam in legacy media. Many are already claiming it is a done deal of what happened. So, and of course, there are those headlines going, is this the end of any credibility for AAP? Is AAP's clean image broken forever? And question mark. First of all, I'm why news is asking us questions, but they're not asking questions for the people who they should ask. To him, they're saying, sir, aap itne hardworking hai. And to the audience, are you in trouble? Question mark. Again. So, Jayashree, why don't you start with you? This was clearly big news that day. It was, covered live until the Prime Minister. But then Prime Minister started making a speech very cleverly. Everyone cut to his speech. And then they cut back to this later. Is this the end of any clean image of AAP? Did AAP have a clean image to begin with, is my question.
Okay, so, the AP is your local government, is the government of the city. So I've always wondered, what is the perception amongst the people of Delhi? Because I voted twice for him. So do they believe the AP is corrupt for doing good work, or are these unfounded allegations? But I think, if you're talking about that, the fact that it is a central agency and that the fact that the BJP has established a pattern of using central agencies to target opposition politicians, so you automatically assume the worst. And I think a majority of people unfamiliar with AAP's governments would also assume that as well. Not that this makes the AP clean, because perhaps only a legitimate, impartial investigation will reveal that. But the obvious conclusion from Sisodia's arrest in this case is a reasonable assumption that here's another example of the BJP trying to undermine the party.
Yeah. And interesting point is, the Modi government are feeling very embarrassing situation. They are ruling all over the country, barring few states, and in Delhi, where the PMO and Parliament and all their taam-jham hai inka. So they are, very feeling a very embarrassing situation that Aam Aadmi Party unki chhati pe moong dal rahi hai. So this, they are not incompatible that way. And I think this is for Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, this is purely a political fight. You see that when जो अगर 100 करोड़ का घपला किया है तो वो कोई घपला नहीं है, और दूसरे जो सज्जन है जो कई लाख करोड़ रुपया बैंकों से लेकर के उसको माफ करवा दिया. So that is not the crime. And Supreme Court will today instituted the commission, high level judicial body for that to inquire into the whole episodes. So that will come after some time. But I can say one thing about this thing, that you see, image of the Aam Aadmi Party is very deep setback to the Aam Aadmi Party. But I can tell you at the same time that they have their 20% vote bank of the lower middle class, lower class, and rickshawala and a small, chote jo garib log hain.
The poor.
They have done this, this soundproof. They have a 20% strong vote bank. We aap had built already.
See, there are 2-3 aspects when it comes to the arrest of Sisodia. First, the investigating agency, Central Bureau of Investigation. In fact, I have covered CBI for a very long time, and I know that CBI is, follow a system. If suppose the IO is sub-inspector level, so the line starts from there. I mean, he is the one who's going to investigate, and he is the one who's going to recommend arrest or filing an FIR.
A sub-inspector.
Sub-inspector.
Okay.
So somebody from the top cannot, decide on his own that isko arrest kar lo. So it can't happen. So CBI has a very, and they go very slow on arresting the people. Okay. This is one aspect of the CBI. Second is the liquor policy. The liquor policy has created some kind of doubt among the people because liquor policy was introduced and then it was withdrawn. Maybe there was a loss of some excise duty or whatever. On that count, they have drawn.
Also, they said because the LG didn't sign.
But in principle, it was implemented. So maybe they smelt that it could be illegal or something. So that has also created a
doubt,
among people. So this is the second aspect of the liquor. And the third, which is the most important aspect, is the pattern that the central government has introduced against the opposition leaders. As Jayashree was referring to this Indian Express report, editorial in fact, not report. It was the first edit, which clearly told that the ED has made cases, against 215 cases against the politicians, and out of those 215, 140 odd
against opposition
are the oppositions. So if you so that trend you have to take note of.
So now can you just decipher what this means, because they've come back quite comfortably in Nagaland while there was all this about them hemming and hawing and the whole Hindutva agenda here would not work there. Clearly the Hindutva agenda here doesn't bother the voter of Nagaland or Tripura. So what do you want to start with? Meghalaya, Nagaland or Tripura?
So I think overall, the message is that, Northeast does not fully trust a national party, be it BJP, be it Congress or not. The local parties still hold their ground here in the Northeast because there is distrust. There is distrust in a lot of these states saying that, okay, if you, we'll just leave out Tripura for now. I'm just talking about Meghalaya and Nagaland. So you need a local ally, who will claim that they will protect the rights, privileges of the people of these two states who enjoy a special status, number one. So because of that, the local parties are here to stay, and they'll forever be in alliance. As far as Meghalaya is concerned, NPP has come back with the numbers. So Conrad Sangma has come back with the numbers. There was a question mark on his popularity. There was a question mark on his performance. There were some corruption allegations, but they've made it through somehow. See, the difference is that Nagaland and Meghalaya are tribal belts, Christian belts. There are issues there of a different nature. There are rights and privileges that the people enjoy according to the agreements that we've had with the government of India, right? And it's a historic one. So here it is easy for the local parties to fearmonger and say, okay, once a national party comes, it will be taken. So that is there in the psyche of people. Even in Sikkim, 377F, 371, all these, privileges are there. So because of that, there is a bend of the local people towards going to a regional party, a party that will protect them. Now, that fear is not there. Only in the tribal belt where, the royal scion, Pradyut Manikya, rules the roost, and his party, the Tripura Mukha party, has now got double digits. I think they're winning about 13 seats in total.
Yeah.
And he could have been the kingmaker had the BJP not reached the magic figure. But BJP in itself now is leading. So there's no problem. Tripura, I think, is interesting that, they have managed to get this majority number. So we've had CPIM before ruling for such a long time. We've had Congress has been trying forever, but they've not really succeeded. So I think that baggage is not there in Tripura. That I see as one of the reasons. Although some will argue that, well, in Meghalaya, you had a Congress party, which is a national party. Yes, but again, I'd go back saying that, there are a lot of other issues, little complications there.
Raman sir, are you surprised by the result? Is it as expected, or you?
I do not follow it,
Closely.
Very closely in tits and bits. What I have understood in Tripura, of course, BJP is back, but they lost 11 seats, from the previous last time, and opposition is stronger. And in the other two states, in Nagaland, the group which was negotiating, the militant group which was negotiating with the BJP government, they had given a diktat to vote for BJP, because also states in the northeast, they think that if they have central government on their side, so their development it is going to help them. So this is the larger understanding. And if the Nagaland, that militant group, if they give the diktat that it has to be, you have to vote for this particular party. So I think it had to happen. So I don't see much of the BJP. It is not giving us any national trend.
So it doesn't, one should not read too much whether this trend is this way or that way. Generally, I guess state assembly elections doesn't really give national trends. But Jayashree, you have a take on this?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions for Karma, if I can. One, I want to know in Nagaland, I think they finally got their two first women legislators, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like historic. But I want to ask, why did it take, how is it that it took so long? Like, what is different about Naga society that it took this long to get to women? And
especially when you hear that, the Northeast women have a far, more powerful status in society than, the rest North India and stuff.
This is it's a complicated question also. It's one of those questions that, sways between complicated and simple.
I just wanted to understand how large is the RSS presence there. I understand BJP politically, because of the quantum of the funds that are tied to center planned funds, for many states, there is a problem in having, let's say, dissonance between states and the center. Now here, what is the RSS presence and not just the BJP? Because the BJP's presence can come, by just getting local leaders to buy them, etc.
So RSS has been there, especially, very visible in a state like Arunachalam. Large state, very visible. In fact, on the state day, they had put up an exhibition on the unsung heroes of Arunachalam. Very much appreciated by the people there. So there is a very visible presence and the work being done at the ground level through many of its, the smaller units across Arunachal.
All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
सुन लिया अफ्रीका मुफत खोरों? Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free.
All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.